How would you like to achieve your first million? And today we have the author of the Anger Management One-on-One Workbook and the founder of psychotherapy practice for the past 20 years, Kelly Gorsky, LMHC. So, Kelly, tell us, what are the 5 steps? What are the secrets to make the first million in business?
Welcome to Unstoppable Podcast with Harry Sardinas, inspiring conversations with influential millionaires, investors, thought leaders, entrepreneurs who are making a massive difference with their innovative products and services, and sharing the challenges and wisdom of how they sold their first million.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for having me on your show. I'm excited to be here. So step number 1, identify why your service and or your product is excellent, how it stands out. What is so special about your product that it clearly identifies its uniqueness and identity. Number 2, make sure you have a financial plan as well as a strategized plan, so that way you can go step by step and measure your results. Number 3, do not be afraid of your competitors. Get to know them and get to know their product and their service. So that way you can, again, stand out and know where you belong in that environment, in that area that you are creating your service and or your product. Number 3, I'd like you to make sure that you're working with a business coach just to make sure that you have everything aligned and you cross all of your concerns and you make sure that everything is aligned. So working with a coach is extremely important. Number 5, make sure that you strategize your goals, identify measurable goals, attainable goals. Do not veer off, stay focused, and make sure that when you're measuring your goals, you are not being distracted by negativity or by people who do not believe in you. That is the entire emphasis. Make sure that you know the uniqueness, the specialty, and you're making sure that you're not hearing that negative noise.
Kelly, let's talk a little bit more about this, because your step number 3, we talk about having a coach, having a mentor. And this is a resistance that we have a lot in entrepreneurs. We find out, 90% of businesses are failing in the first 2 years. But somehow the entrepreneurs are resistant sometimes to having a mentor, to having a coach, maybe because they think that the coach is going to go there to the business to tell them what to do. And a lot of people, entrepreneurs, resist to this. But I understand the power of mentoring and coaching, because it can literally change your life, can literally change the outcome of your business. So in your view, why do you think that there is so much resistance out there in order to get a coach or a mentor? Whether every gold medalist, when they win the gold medal, the first thing that they say is thanks to my coach. And if you want to achieve your goal, you were talking about goal setting. Having a mentor is someone that is gonna give you fastest path. Yet we find a lot of resistance out there, and people don't want to have a coach. People don't want to pay for the coach. So what do you think is the main issue?
The answer to that question is the fact that we have a very large ego that we're not very cognizant of, and we think we can do it all ourselves. I can do this. So I believe the biggest resistance is to say, I may know my service, I may know my product, but that doesn't mean I actually know how to market it, how to advertise it, how to specialize in social media, or how to attain a strategized financial plan. Because just because you know the product doesn't mean that you really know all the background work. And so what tends to happen is that people tend to not do well in the first 2 years. You are correct. Because their ego gets in the way of saying, I don't know this, whatever this may be. Yeah. And so they don't seek someone out that could potentially mentor them, as you say, help them. And what's great about a mentor or a coach, a business coach, is that there's no financial investment, there's no equity that you're giving up. You're just paying for X service, someone who is just providing a specific service and having zero investment in your company. So there's nothing on their end that's going to influence them to give you this potentially influential negative feedback.
Kelly, you do know what you're talking about because you see, this person that you're talking, that was me. That was exactly me when the first 2 years of my business. Oh my God, you see, I started to have this business, it was a property business. I wanted to sell over 5 million, and then I'm making money, right? And I'm doing everything on my own. And I have this, like this ego that I can do everything better than anybody. You see,
Yeah.
that's why I have this business. So I thought that was, the big deal. At the same time, I was not trusting anybody. So I'm thinking, how come I'm gonna employ someone? How they gonna go to the houses, my tenants? How about if they steal something, or how gonna give the access to my landlords if they treat them bad? So I'm that this egocentric person, that I know better than anybody,
Mm-hmm.
and combined with I don't trust anybody. Oh my
That's
God.
right.
Oh, Kelly, after 2 years, I was tired. I was so exhausted. I'm wearing all the hats on the company. Don't get me wrong, I'm making money, but I can't. I'm waking up with the laptop in my lap, and I couldn't handle. Then I'm got angry. So we're gonna talk about that later because we have a lot to talk about your book after. But I'm tired and overweight and angry. I'm not sleeping well, and I cannot handle it. I always have like 2 rooms empty. See, on top of that, I have a job, so I was doing a job while building the business at the same
Nice.
time. And I was so tired that I couldn't realize even that I have 2 rooms empty. They were paying. I was working as a room service in the Hilton, and they were paying me. This in London in Canary Wharf, and they were paying me like around 1,100 pounds, something like that. And I couldn't even see for months that I always have 2 rooms empty. And guess what? If I rent these 2 rooms, which is gonna take me one day to do it, I'll make the same 1,000. So I was for months without realizing, trapped in this fright race, in this ego, in this kind of thing. And I think out of necessity, honestly, I wish that I have a coach and a mentor like you back then. I didn't even know what that was. But the out of necessity, out of tiredness, out of one day I took off and I realized what I'm doing in this shop. I can't make the same money just in one day. So I quit that job, and guess what happened? I quit that job. Next day, I go out, I rent the 2 rooms, and now sitting at home, nothing to do. And so then I have time to think, and then I start to hire people. Guess what happened? Every single person that I had to work with me, they were better than me at everything. I was like
It's
asking them,
learning
"How you do that?"
experience.
I'm learning to I like to work a lot with women. They're very assertive in sales. They're brilliant. And the guess what? My manager was selling the rooms. I'm like, "How you do that so fast? You rent is so expensive, more expensive than me. How you guys do this?" And then I had another one for operation that was better than me. And so to the point, everybody was so better than me at everything that one day I arrived to the office and then sent me home. They told me, "Harry, we don't need you. Go home. We can run this business without you. We grow this business without you. Actually, you're coming here to talk to us, so you're making us waste time and not focusing what we had to do." So, which is something amazing that did happen to me. But I was that person that you described, Kelly. So I'm 100% uh, understand what you just shared. Yeah, and that says a lot about you. That said a lot that you do know what you're talking about. So
Thank
number
you.
two, number two, let's talk about your book because I also was this person. Yeah, the angry and the angry management. So I'm gonna ask a question a little bit deep because this is what happened, right? You had that ego and that um, because you're running this and you know everything, now you're exhausted and and you become to get angry, basically you're not sleeping, but also because all the business is taking all your time. When you started a business, nobody knows you, so it's difficult to find clients, so they want to pay you
Very.
very little, and the supply, they want to charge you more, and then nobody knows you, so it's really hard. So all this emotional pain, all these rejections that you get about going, in exactly like in the first 2 years, right? All this emotional pain, if not dealt with properly, can become a physical pain. Can
Absolutely.
look, I'm becoming a little bit overweight. If I tell you the story, you won't believe. This was my formula in the first 2 years, because I'm busy and I don't have time for anything, and I know everything. So I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna work, 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 work the whole day, go to work, go work, work, work the whole day, and then in the evening, about 9:30, when I was so hungry that I couldn't even move, I will order a meal in the restaurant. And
Mm. What
actually,
would you order?
the rest, you will laugh about it. I don't even care, because the restaurant have, like, it was a Chinese restaurant and an Indian restaurant. They all have large menus, and they knew that I ordered every day different numbers. So I didn't care what I'm ordering. I just called. I was so tired that I couldn't even order my food. I'm so hungry, I couldn't order my food. So I just called the restaurant and said, I'm hungry. I'm hurry. And they will knew that, okay, next number is this one, and they will send my
In
food straight away.
chronological order.
So no,
Hmm.
yeah, no interest whatsoever when I'm eating, if it's healthy, if it's not healthy. And then I go to bed with my, with my belly full. You can see I'm still a little bit overweight because of this. My body took a hit. Absolutely. So all this emotional pain, if it's not dealt properly, it becomes a physical pain. So
Absolutely.
what advice, Kelly, do you have for people, for the entrepreneurs out there in suffering, that they might be even in this path at the moment, or somehow they get out, but they don't even think that what we're talking about is a thing, because literally the business can kill you if you don't look after yourself properly, right?
Well, you're absolutely correct. And this is why strategizing is so important, right? If you think about it, so there's the financial planning, right? And then there is the product, and then there's the strategy. So, what are the strategies to get there? How are you prioritizing yourself and your service? So, number one, are you doing self care? What type of self care? Exercise routine, yoga, or kickboxing. It doesn't really matter what type, however you need to release that tension, or meditation, or some type of movement, making sure that you're eating your breakfast, making sure that you're constantly filling yourself with great nutrients. And the other thing is that's really important is taking walks. I often recommend to my clients, take a walk,
Oh, I love
take a
it.
breather. Um, and sometimes just being in your own silence with fresh air allows you to take care of yourself and really come back to the business and go back to the strategies that you've identified. And if you're able to create a strategy for your plan, and you're able to align those strategies to align with your self-care. I'm not saying not to work and not to work long hours, because those, when you're starting a business, it's going to happen. You need that motivation, dedication, ambition. Um, you want to wake up early. You want to obviously go to sleep late, but at the same time, you want to make sure that you are able to take care of yourself, shower, make sure that you, like I said, you walk, you eat, you give yourself the opportunity to even exercise for 20 minutes. And I think that's a really important start.
Kelly, that you one of the biggest thing that discovered from my life is was going for a walk. I love going for a walk with my girlfriend. Now, again, took us
Yeah.
time to discover this again, because this is a topic that nobody talks about. This is a topic that people don't even think. That is important. All the entrepreneurs, we are so busy trying to make money, so busy trying to make the business work, and we don't realize that it has to be a more holistic way approach that we have,
Mhm.
because like I said, this thing that you're describing, for example, um, I discovered because you look into yourself, and you realize there is something wrong with me.
Well,
I really need help. What I'm so aggressive? What I'm so angry for? What's the point? What I should be grateful that I'm happy, that I'm alive, that I have my own business, that I have my employees, and somehow you have gone to this anger again because all these negative emotions, right? Even if your business work, because at some point in my life, you see, my managers sent me home, and I didn't know that was a good thing or not. But I'm asking myself, did I make obsolete in my own company? But you know what happened? Then I listen carefully. Uh, I gone to my house and I start to watch movies. Yeah, and
okay.
all these negative emotions are there. They are not gone. All these 2 years of fighting and failing and setbacks and building the business, everything is stored. Yeah. So I'm all this money is coming in. I have nothing to do, and then I'm at home watching movies, one after the other one. Yeah, I do like movies. Yeah, and and then after 3 6 months, I remember I got out of the room, and I have this in my mind, because it was so hard. This is not right. I'm receiving all this money. I'm not doing any work. There is something wrong with me. And
Mm.
a lot of people talk about dealing with failure. Nobody talks about how dealing with success. So guess what I did? I went there and I opened a restaurant, Spanish restaurant. I lost 200,000 pounds. My girlfriend back on the on the day. It was a total disaster. I lost friends. You name it. My parents are worried about me. I couldn't see my dad, my mom in 2 years because I was so busy in the restaurant. I couldn't even go to work for sick because I remember back on this day when I had this restaurant that one day I went after I closed the restaurant to for Circus, which is in the center of London. I'm thinking, wow, I haven't been here in 2 years. How this is possible? So I lost 2 years of my life. And again, it's all come, Kelly, because those negative emotions are still stored there. And if I do what you say, and the anger is still there, somehow stored, and I didn't know. I didn't know that something as simple as you shared with me, go for a walk, start to work on your mental health, start to find your purpose. I didn't know that. And so with all this negative emotion, I went again into business, and you kind of auto sabotage yourself. So after this huge setback, this is where I have a deep look into myself, and I start to learn all these amazing topics that you're talking about. So that's what I'm saying, that what you do can save life. However, Kelly, again, so what message do you have for the naysayer? What message do you have for people that say, well, who has time for this? I'm here to build my business. I want to make money. Mental health, that doesn't make sense. It makes sense that you have an emotional pain, and you make sick yourself. This, it doesn't make sense. So some people might think that, right? Some people, this clear example, even my dad have a big, very severe cancer in the throat.
Oh no.
And yeah, it was three teams of doctors. Even if it was in the news of the hospital after they did the operation. He's fine now, right?
Good.
And looking back, we realized that what happened was that he was fired for his job, and he was so angry, so upset, resisting so much to it, that lowered the defense again, emotional pain, and 2 years down the line, he has a severe cancer and almost died. And but then, Kelly, you're talking about this, about mental health, about, and people are not taking it seriously. People think that what you're talking about is something that is not actually important. So can you can you share a little bit more, why it's extremely important, specifically for entrepreneurs, because we handle 100 times more pressure than an employee. Nothing wrong to be an employee. However, you are responsible only for one specific role to do. Yeah. And whether entrepreneurs, we are responsible for our role, we're responsible for the people to do the job, we're responsible for even some of our employees only bring this salary to home. So we are responsible also for the whole family to eat. And we're responsible for our suppliers. And, if you keep digging, so the pressure that we need to handle is a lot. So why people should be taken seriously and work on themselves in their mental health.
You're absolutely right. And first of all, I'm glad your father is doing better. And I'm assuming he's in remission.
Yeah. He's amazing. He's healthy. He's the whole thing disappear. Um, but yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, he's great.
I hope it stays that way. And the other part you had mentioned that we're responsible or you're responsible for so many people, for so many projects, and so many families that are counting on these people to bring home the salary. And the whole concept of responsibility is humongous, right? First and foremost, in order to be able to deliver all of these responsibilities, we need to deliver the responsibility of taking care of ourselves. And if we don't take care of ourselves, how are we going to be able to deliver the responsibility of making sure and ensuring that our business and the employees and the services are up to par, up to, the best perfect standard? Because if we're breaking down, our emotions tend to run high. We tend to make decisions based on emotion. And that is a very rough spot to be in, because you want to make sure that you have a filter between an emotional reaction and a pragmatic reaction. And you definitely want to respond more logically. So then if you're not able to focus on being logical, and you're not able to focus on being responsible for your own logic and emotional health, just because we feel things of, nerves, anxiety, tension, anger, frustration, that just says that we're not taking care of ourselves, which means if we're not taking care of ourselves, even though the business is doing well, we're still losing sight of how to continue the business. And the business is you first, right? Because you are the business, and you're the entity, and you're the plan, and you are the service, and you're producing so that the families actually could sustain and they do well. So in order to do that, we need to make sure we as a business are thriving. Because if we're not thriving, then we're not being able to kind of foresee where the flaws may arise, where obstacles may arise, and then we fall. And so our success may be monetarily, high, but emotionally, mentally, you're weakened. And so you're not able to be intact and on point, which then also certain ramifications and consequences may occur. So one of the things that I highly recommend is always take a moment, and it takes 2 minutes to do. Just take in a moment of gratitude. Look at yourself, identify what you like about yourself, identify what you like about your life, what you appreciate about your life, what you appreciate about yourself. Not just the component of business, because business will run well as you run yourself. And, having I guess the other component to this is having a therapist or a business coach or just a coach to just reflect on yourself as an entity, on yourself as a human being, and to make sure that, that while you are feeling some of these conflicts, if you speak to someone who is also taking care of themselves, right? You hope to have someone who's in alignment with that, because that's really important to check in that your therapist is taking care of themselves, right? And you want to make sure that while you're talking things out, you're actually creating solutions to some of those conflicts, dilemmas, whether they're emotional, logical, financial. So there's so many components in taking care of yourself, but I think that's the most important one. And the tension then subsides because you're walking out there with solutions, and that's what you really need, solutions.
So now let's talk about a little bit more about why about the anger and again management. I think that you wrote this book in order to help a lot of people out there. But in your view, why people get angry on the first place? Because usually people get angry when there is a conflict, but the conflict is happen when someone is thinking that haven't been fair with the other person, right? But we have this anger problem that sometimes, families, parents and so on, and they don't talk for years. And they don't even remember why they got angry in the first place. And we are professionals. We are masters at getting angry. So
Oh,
that is something
excellent.
that all our human beings, we are for that to get really angry or really upset. Oh, we are so good at that. But to be compassion, to be understanding about the other person, to be to right. Don't, sometimes is better to. I always say to be rich than to be right. But put in this context, yeah, put in this context, it's better to have to. And this is something that happened to me, by the way. Yeah, which is when I was in these anger situations, right?
The roller
I
coaster.
was so aggressive that I was arguing a lot with my dad. So arguing, my dad, he knows a lot of things. So he always want to be right, whatever it takes. Yeah, and I'm in this
Yeah.
role as well that I want to be right, and I know everything with my ego and so on. But what happened? It was going
Oh,
so
yeah.
much, so much argument going on. And one day I took, after I started to work on myself, I took I thought that I prefer to be wrong and have my dad that'll be right and be fighting with him all the time. So guess what happened? The whole relationship has changed. And today I give him his space. He comes every day. Do you know about this? I did this research. He knows. He's the type of person that look for the story of United States or whatever that nobody knows or in the world. And also, do you knew about this? And you see, I give him his moment of significance. I said, no, I didn't know. Tell me a little bit more. So now he goes and explain. So he has that moment. He's teaching me something, and I'm not resisting to it anymore. I'm another person. I'm actually enjoying it. I give it this space. I'm thinking behind my head. You see, this is beautiful because I have my dad. Whether I have it to be right, it was a constant battle that was deteriorating the relationship. So if it's so, in your view, Kelly, if it's better to be right all the time, or what is your secret, your recipe to don't get angry and to keep relationships? And tell us about the chapters of your book that you wrote, and also tell us about your book. When can we find it, or where people can buy it, how people can access to you? um, we want to know all this.
Thank you. Again, you went back to your ego, right? I want to be right. I don't, and that's how you pushed your dad away. And then you learned that it's not about being right or wrong. It's really about being able to listen to him without feeling like he's insulting you just because he's sharing a story with you. And so what you did is you created a filter, right? So emotion did not live with your father. Logic did. Well, if my father wants to speak to me, why not listen to him? Because he's such a curious guy. He brings so much to the table. Just because he brings so much to the table, that doesn't take away what you already know. Right. And so you connected that exceptionally well. And many people are having
I'm
a very
glad I
hard
did.
time.
I'm glad I did. But again, Kelly, because I start to work on myself, I start to read a lot about what you specialize. Because otherwise, and there are people that never find out. That's
Never.
the problem. People never find out that it has a huge. That's the story that you hear, that that families don't talk, or relationships. People don't talk with his ex-wife or ex-husbands, and there is this anger and this hate stored there for the whole life. And people need to know again more, that this type of knowledge is out there, that we have experts that you that can definitely help. So, Kelly, if someone is in love with our conversation, how people can find you, how this process works, how can they find your book, what your book is about? Can you tell us a little bit more about this?
So the book is about controlling your anger, but mostly being in control of yourself. So it's really not controlling the anger. The anger is extremely healthy. It gives you a cue that potentially something is wrong, or it gives you a cue where you need to be a little bit more cognizant and conscientious. That's number one. Number two, you could find me at kellygorsky.com. And my book, you could find my website, which is also on kellygorsky.com, and or Amazon, which is easily accessible on Kindle or just on purchase. And it's Kelly Gorsky Anger Management 101 workbook. So it's an interactive workbook, actually. So it's not just a book, because I find those types of books not just scientific, maybe a little wordy, not boring, but wordy. So this book is very concise, or this workbook is very concise. It gives you a few paragraphs of information regarding relationship with yourself, relationship with others, being able to be in control, and how to resolve dilemmas, how to reflect, how to create that filter that you and I have been speaking about, and not having that humongous ego, taking a huge accountability, what you contribute to every relationship, including yourself. And I believe many people do not do that. They forget that they contribute, and they don't take accountability as to how they participated in that dilemma, or in that conflict, and that problem. And we're so easy to point fingers at others, whereas we're not really thinking, like, what did I do in this circumstance to potentially cause this, right? And so my workbook gives you many assignments to self-reflect and identify, how did you contribute to this specific dilemma? And so it goes step by step in making sure that you're comprehending how to have conversations, how to have a productive conversation, when to choose a battle, when not to choose a battle. And the other thing is, you asked me a question a couple of minutes ago, whether or not people should continue their relationships with people that they're arguing about, or should they not, choose a battle, not choose a battle. Well, that's a very big question. And I guess there's two ways to answer that, or to respond to that. Number one, I think identifying the purpose of the relationship. What does this relationship bring you into your life? So is it, what are the attributes? What are some assets? What are some ramifications, flaws, difficulties? So you want to find purpose. And once you find and identify the purpose, you're able to self-reflect and say, well, if this relationship is purposeful, then how do I keep it? Right? And that's exactly what you did with your dad.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you find the relationship to heavily weigh on the cons, the negatives, the flaws, the constant problems, the toxicity, the roller coaster, where everything is burdensome, and you don't find any happiness, joy, purpose, light, entertainment, something that gives you the ability to say, yes, this works. And if it's abusive, toxic, painful, to a point where you're not able to breathe, then yes, that is when you let go. But you need to self-reflect on how you contribute, and if you do. So that's kind of where I'm at with all of your pointers and questions.
Thank you so much, Kelly. This conversation has been fantastic. I really, really appreciate that you share your knowledge with us, with our audience today. And I wish that more entrepreneurs find more about you, about what you do, and take it seriously, because the success of your business is only highly dependent, yeah, 80%, 90% highly dependent of the mindset of this entrepreneur, of that mental health of the
Yes.
entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs have to work on themselves. Again, what we discussed before, there is a lot of pressure that we had to handle. And because we deal with more pressure, we had to be able to release that pressure in the best vehicle. But to have someone like you to talk about, someone that can help find this the most effective vehicle to release this negative emotional pain that is a nature of having a business, is will happen undoubtedly to you, because become an entrepreneur is skill based. The more you practice, the better you become. And by practicing being an entrepreneur, you're gonna deal with failures, and that failures is gonna bring negative emotional to your mindset, to your mental health, that if it's not treated or deal with, end up in physical pain. So what's the last message, Kelly, you have for our audience?
Just make sure that before you start your business aligns with your self care and vice versa.
Wow,
So
very
that's
powerful.
my message.
Wow, very, very powerful. I love it so much. Actually, in this podcast, Kelly, we already interviewed 500 millionaires, and it was there are a couple of person. If I don't remember, that I asking, give me the 5 step how to achieve the first million, and the first thing they're saying is mental health. They're saying don't go into business if you know mentally prepare, healthy, like prepare your mind for battle, because
Yes.
you're going for battle, and you have mentally prepared for it. And this is so profound that obviously I only know by experience that, but for me it was even worse. I didn't know that it that was even a thing, so, and there is very little awareness about this. So I'm glad, Kelly, we had this conversation so we can raise awareness about this topic that is so important for the life, not only for the entrepreneur, for the relationship with your family, with your spouses, with your environment, with your community. Yeah, exactly. So colleagues, exactly, colleagues, employees, you name it. So let's say yes to be happy, to be wealthy, to be happy, and let's say no to be angry, egocentric,
Frustrated. Mhm.
pressure, because that doesn't end up in a good health condition. Thank you so much, Kelly, and for
Thank you
all of
for having me.
pleasure, and for all of you following the broadcast. See you in our next episode of Unstoppable, how brave entrepreneur like Kelly broke that wall and achieved the first million. Bye for now.
Follow us for more interviews with world's most influential, audacious entrepreneurs that overcame challenges and adversity, providing you with the blueprint of how they sold their first million so you can grow your business exponentially.